Motion, please.
Oh,
I move to open the appeal.
Thanks, you. Looking for support?
I'll support.
Mr. Potter, thank you. All in favor of opening the public hearing, aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Ms. Rector, if you could, please.
I'm sorry, I don't want to mess up the last name. Sniebeck? Sniebeck? Seebeck. Robert and Mary Ann Seebeck, 1081 Cumberland Drive, 5802-251-02200 on approximately .237 of an acre, R2B single-family residential, seeking a 3-foot side yard setback variance to construct an addition to the existing attached garage. The subject property consists of .237 acres, and the applicant is seeking a variance to construct a 10 by 28 attached addition to the existing garage in an R2B single-family residential zoning district. The proposed addition will provide a 5-foot side yard setback from the west property line with an existing 16-foot side yard setback from the east property line. Per Section 400-1800, Schedule of Regulations, in an R2B single-family residential zoning district, a minimum side yard setback of 8 feet and a total of 20 is required. Therefore, the applicant is seeking a 3-foot side yard setback variance to construct an addition to the existing attached garage. The applicant stated in the submitted letter the proposed addition would provide storage for an additional vehicle and equipment, which would then allow for the removal of the existing dilapidated shed on the property. At this time, no letters or clause of objection have been received, and the applicant provided 4 letters of no objection from adjacent properties. Should the variance request be granted, the variance required is a 3-foot side yard setback to construct a 10 by 28 addition to the existing attached garage. And just for clarification, we do have the layout of the house on the property showing that there is 16 feet on this side, and then once the addition is attached, there is only 5 feet, and the Schedule of Regulations requires 8 and a total of 20. So minimally, he would have to have 8 feet on this side.
Thank you for that, Ms. Rector. If the applicant would like to come up and add anything to that at this time?
I think that's good.
If you,
If you could just come up in case they have any questions.
Sure.
yeah, we'll have some
State your
additional
name and
questions. So if you could, just state your name and address for the record.
Robert Siebenek, 1081 Cumberland, Temperance, Michigan, 48182.
Okay. If you don't have anything addition to add, we'll go ahead, and there's no one else in the audience on this item, we'll look for a motion to close the public hearing.
Motion to close the public hearing.
Looking for support?
Support.
All in favor of closing the public hearing, aye.
Aye.
All right, thank you. Now, we'll have some additional questions for you still at this time. I'll open it up to the board at this time if they want to go ahead.
I have a question. And maybe this is going to be more of a general question for Phil or you, Mr. Chairman, but it doesn't seem like there was a practical difficulty cited in your request.
No, I
It's
just,
required to have a zoning variance.
right, I wanted a garage wide enough so I can get a car in and also storage for all the lawn equipment, mowers and whatnot. The shed in the back of the house is nothing but a wasp's nest, and I just want to tear it down and make the backyard more appealing.
Well, a practical difficulty has to do with the property. What gives you a hard time in your ability to build it within what's allowed?
It's just too narrow. I would have to get a 6.5 or 7-foot garage door, and it's just too narrow to put an automobile in there.
Okay. I guess in addition to that, what kind of prevents you from putting a structure in your backyard?
It's not deep enough. It's just, I'd only have maybe 30 feet maybe. And if you go 8 feet from each property line in the backyard, there's just, it would be a very small, barely even a one-car garage. Plus the attached garage is going to add value to the property and property tax.
Mr. Potter?
Yes.
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Question for Phil, I believe. Practical difficulty, is it valid practical difficulty, the fact that the garage has to be a certain width to be usable as a vehicle garage? Does that make sense?
That's part of it. I think in this case, you take into consideration the lot size, the current orientation of the house with the attached garage. This is an addition, as I understand it, it's an addition to the existing attached garage. Someone correct me if I'm wrong. So the way the home is oriented on this lot makes it such, if you want to attach the garage to the existing garage, which makes sense, then it's the placement of the house on the lot, which would require the side yard setback. So required to have 8 feet, and was it, Jody, 8 feet or a total of 20?
Minimally one side needs to be 8,
Yeah, and for a total of 20.
and then a total of 20.
So he would have more than sufficient room on the opposite side. So had the house originally, when constructed, been shifted a little bit to that side, you would be able to meet that 8-foot requirement. But as I view it, if I were the applicant, I would be stating that the practical difficulty is the way the home was constructed on the lot with a larger setback to the opposite side and a narrower setback to the side where the proposed garage addition exists.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Ask a question. This is a platted development. And a lot of times in platted developments, they have utility easements running between the property lines or a drainage easement. Is there any type of easements on the property that you would be obstructing if you build this addition?
On the other side, there's an easement for the property lines, and I'm going to have to pay the power company to move the electric line.
Okay, that was one of my questions. I was out there today and saw there's a communication box and a transformer or a switchgear in your front yard right in front of this garage, so.
Well, it's not going to be right from the street. It's going to be banked, just like the existing is
Okay.
right now.
Yeah, this is a concern I have is easements, you know, before you build anything.
On the other side, there's an easement.
Okay, there still should be one through your front yard in the right-of-way that may go to your neighbor's property as well that would need to be considered.
Well, I was looking at an easement if it ran north and south. I guess it would be north and south.
Mm-hmm.
You know, any type of drainage easement. If it was in there and then you build a building in there, and now you're in the drainage easement, it could cause a problem within the development. But I think the utilities probably follow the road, don't they? In there, they're not running north to south. They don't go to your backyard, like all the way to the back.
Oh, it's from the pole that's on the side of the house, the electric meter to the front.
Is there any type of drainage catch basin or anything back there in the back corner?
No.
No.
I guess another question is, it looks like there's a gate on the east side, since this is flipped around. Is the intent to maintain the access to the backyard on that side of the property, since you're going to be closing off essentially the entire west side?
You can still get around to get to the gate. The garage is not going to go all the way to the gate.
Okay.
You know, getting back to my broader question about determining the practical difficulty, is it the job of the board, I'm new here, so I have to ask, is it the job of the board to figure out what that is, or is the applicant responsible for citing that?
Well, typically, the applicant would cite what they believe the practical difficulty to be. It's not uncommon for the board to make suggestions as to what a practical difficulty will be. Oftentimes, people don't understand the significance of a practical difficulty versus, for instance, a hardship. But for the most part, we deal with practical difficulties. And that's how the case law interprets the statute, Zoning Enabling Act and the statute. So, so you're right. Typically, that's the responsibility of the applicant. And so
It seems like
I look at it and I say, well, if I was the applicant, this is what I would say.
It seems like we spend a lot of time in our meetings, everybody rustling their haddocks about what the practical difficulty is here, when it should be told to us what it is. It's not happening that way. So I'm just trying to clear that up.
More often than not, the board wrestles with, well, what is the practical difficulty? Because they deal with it, the board members deal with it each month, and so they have a pretty good concept of what practical difficulty is as it relates to the geography of the lot, permanent fixtures on the lot. You were talking about it a minute ago. Are there utility easements? Oftentimes we talk about, is there a septic tank or a leach field or a wellhead, if it's not served by public water, that might be the practical difficulty. So, yeah, you hit the nail on the head. It's just the nature of the beast.
I mean, as far as your request goes, when it's just minor setbacks, I usually don't have a big problem with it. And looking at your house in relation to your neighbor's home, it looks like there's a lot of space there. I don't think adding what you're asking is going to...
Yeah, I went to all 5 of my neighbors within 300 feet. And
I know. And then the other thing is, if this went through planning like it normally would when the subdivision was planned and proposed, it wouldn't have been acceptable. So should it be acceptable now is my question.
Well, if you were zoned R3, it would have a 5-foot setback.
It would have a proper setback.
Many subdivisions have a 5-foot setback. So if you were...
Yeah. So I just want you to know, I don't have a problem with it per se, but.
I guess my question for Mr. Goldsmith is, in terms of verifying easements and anything before a building permit gets issued, or even Dennis, who does that to say? Okay.
Mr. Dersch, I believe when he came in after, because he originally had submitted for a building permit, so Mr. Kohler had reviewed it, and then it came over to our office when it was noted that he needed a variance, and we pull out the plat and typically verify if they have any easements or anything of that nature. I believe we did that prior to submitting the paperwork back to him when we let him know he was going to require a variance.
Okay.
And then the next step is, before any construction, a wise person will call Miss Digg and know where the electric is, where the natural gas is, where the water line is.
It's the law, you have
sewer.
to. Or you pay a lot of money to fix something if you hit it.
You're right.
Ready to make a motion?
Yeah, Mr. Baxter, do you have anything additional you wanted to ask? I saw you.
I was just kind of looking at the flat and the house next door, and it looks like there is quite a bit of distance between, right there, between him and his neighbor. To the west, maybe? Is that what? Yeah, to the west. The total combined setbacks on each lot in here obviously is what, 20 feet, or is it 21 feet?
20 combined, minimum of 8. So he's got plenty of room on the opposite side. So, again, it's where the builder decided to build that house. And
it's just that, I guess in my mind, if it were me, I would have scooted it over to the left a little bit and left a little bit more room on the right, because
Chair.
you can add on to a garage.
And I was just going to say that might have been why they left the 16 feet on that side as well, because there was the easement on that side and could encroach the house farther to the other property line. And also, keep in mind, he's approximately 35 feet back from the road on this sketch. We don't determine property lines, but I believe those utilities will be closer to the front of the home, closer to the road where the sidewalk is located on this plan. You can see where the sidewalk sits back. Usually the utility easements are going to be in that area.
The addition that he's going to put on the 2 feet, he's not going to be encroaching on the front yard setback, is he? No.
Yeah, I think as we said, kind of in summary, it's the existing placement of this home, which could have been from the easements or however it got laid out at that time. So I think, Mr. Potter, you were thinking about making a motion. I think. Any additional comments, Mr. Gore? I haven't heard anything from you yet tonight.
No, you guys were asking all the questions, and it looks like it's still going to be garage to garage with the neighbor, so there wouldn't be any line of sight or any issues like that. It just still boggles my mind why people put a house on such a tiny lot in these cookie cutter subdivisions. But that's what we're left with.
I think something I would add to the consideration is the applicant briefly mentioned it, but we're really looking at the minimum practical size in terms of width. We can't go any narrower to increase this without making it unusable. Cannot even be able to put a door on it at that point, essentially. So, Mr. Potter, if you're ready to make a motion, we'll entertain it.
Okay. I'd like to make a motion to approve the plus or minus 3 feet side yard setback variance to construct an addition to the existing garage at 1081 Cumberland Drive, Temperance, Michigan, or property number 5802-251-02200, and identify practical difficulty, maybe two parts of a practical difficulty. A is the placement of the home on the lot is shifted more to the west than centered on the lot. And B, the garage needs to be a certain width to be usable as a vehicle garage. Otherwise, it's probably not worth building.
Okay, looking for support to bring some discussion, and we can go ahead and take it to a vote.
I'm sorry, who supported that?
No support yet.
I'll go ahead and support it, and I'd just like to add, and the one thing that I had written down, and correct me if I'm wrong, the backyard was not deep enough to put something on it.
Yeah, it looks like from the rear yard setback, the house setback, and the side yard, it would probably be, 12 by 12 or something?
Yeah, I would just add that as a practical difficulty because the side yard was, or the total size of the property is not large enough to put something in the backyard.
And if Mr. Potter is in favor of that,
Yes, I'm in favor of that. That's a good point.
I would like to note that, as we discussed, we are meeting the overall setback, 20 foot between both sides. It's just this west side here, we are looking at the 3 foot variance based on the layout of the home and where it's at on the property.
If I can add something, it's actually 2 and 1 foot overhang.
Okay, we're still looking at the building line, so that it's still 3 foot from where in terms of fire code and other things.
You can also for your consideration, make a condition that I think the applicant stated that if this variance application is granted, that you would remove the shed, which would improve the aesthetic appearance of that lot and the neighborhood in general. So you could make that a condition as well.
I forgot about that. Thank you.
We all did. Were you okay with the addition on the overall setback?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, both of you. You both.
Good.
Right. If there's no further additions or amendments, I think we're ready to go to a vote. Ms. Rector?
Mr. Potter?
Aye.
Mr. Gore?
Aye.
Mr. Bassinger?
Aye.
Mr. Mahoney?
Aye.
Mr. Dersch?
Aye.
Motion carried.
All right. Thank you. Ms. Rector will be in touch with you after to get things hashed out on your end.
Very good.
See Mr. Fuller tomorrow.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Pass it off for Dennis.
Okay, we'll go ahead and look for a motion to open up item B on our agenda. The appeal at 2923 West Rock Road requesting a reapproval of a plus or minus 50-foot frontage variance and a plus or minus 270-foot frontage variance to create 2 parcels that was previously granted on June 5th, 2023. So looking for a motion to open that.
Make a motion to open it.
Mr. Gore looking for support.
Support.
Mr. Potter, all in favor of opening the public hearing, aye.
Aye.
All right, thank you. Ms. Rector, if you could, please.
Yes, the applicant is Harold and Denise Williams, 2923 West Rock Road, Temperance, Michigan, on 21.5 acres, agriculturally zoned, seeking a variance for parcel 1 of a plus or minus 50-foot frontage and parcel 2 of 270-foot frontage. They are seeking a reapproval. The existing parcel consists of approximately 21.5 acres with 340 feet of frontage on Rock Road. The applicant is seeking to split the 21.5 acre parcel into two parcels in an agricultural zoning district. Per section 1800 Schedule of Regulations, a minimum of 5 acres and 330 feet of frontage is required. The applicant sought and was granted a 50-foot frontage variance and 270-foot frontage variance to create two parcels on June 5th, 2023. And we did include those previous minutes. However, due to the lapse in the time frame in proceeding with the land division, the applicant is requesting reapproval for the requested variances. The applicant has submitted a plot plan, Exhibit A, showing parcel 1 resulting in 280 feet of frontage on Rock Road, maintaining the home and all accessory structures with 11.5 acres, and parcel 2, vacant parcel, resulting with 60 feet of frontage and the remaining 10 acres. The applicant has stated in the submitted letter a hardship is due to the location and size of the existing barn, and it could not be moved, nor would it be cost-effective to tear down. The applicant also noted the hardship of maintaining the 21 acres, and this request would provide a portion of the property for his family to live in, provide assistance in maintaining the property. At this time, the planning department has received no calls or letters of objection to the request, and should the request again be granted, the variances are a 50-foot frontage variance and a 270-foot frontage variance. Any motion to grant the variances requested should include a contingent upon a submitted land division application to be reviewed and approved through the assessing department and submitted to the township board for review and approval as the request exceeds the 6-to-1 depth to width ratio permitted by ordinance for both parcels.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Rector. If the applicant would like to come up here and add anything to that, please state your name and address for the record.
Hi, my name's Harold Williams, 2923 West Rock Road.
Okay. Is there anything you'd like to add to what Ms. Rector said? If not, if there's anyone else in the audience, we'll close the public hearing and get into our questions.
The reason why I'm just going to say the reason why we didn't do it the first time was we got to thinking about some of the questions the board asked about the equal split. So I'm actually running it back further, giving him from half of the property from the rest of it back after we go through the 50-foot. So he'll have half the distance all the way back to the back of the property. And I didn't want to, before we had to go through all the problem of paying for the surveyor in there, we got to thinking about that. So now we're ready.
Okay. If there's no one else here in the audience for this item, we'll go ahead and look for a motion to close the public hearing.
Motion to close.
Looking for support.
Support.
Thank you, Mr. Potter. All in favor of closing the public hearing, aye.
Aye.
All right, thank you. I'm sure we'll have some additional questions for you. I'll open it up to the board at this time.
I remember this one. I think it took us a couple cracks at it, right?
No cracks at it.
All right. And nothing's changed?
Nothing's
other
changed.
Than what you just
Same
stated?
kids moving in.
Okay.
So.
The only question I have is on the driveways, and I think this is going to defer to my right, is I think we briefly talked about shared driveways in the past on this property, but I don't remember. There's nothing in the motion about it, so I didn't remember what the discussion ended up being.
It went both ways. We didn't determine if we were going to do a share or if we were actually going to put one on that side.
Okay.
We have no problem going either way. If I got to put one on that 50-foot, is no problem. But I know it was left, originally it was just open, which one we were going to do.
I think there was some discussion about the shared driveway if they could not get another driveway permit from the road commission,
Right.
which ordinance does allow for 2 homes off of 1 drive, so that would not need to be part of the variance request. But should you determine that it needed to be a condition, it would be up to the desire of the board. But I think it was discussed regarding if they could obtain another driveway permit in proximity from the road commission.
It only requires township approval of variance if the driveway will serve, as Jody said, more than 2 residences or principal dwelling units. So our ordinance allows it. Allows the shared drive to serve 2 homes.
Just so I'm clear, there's parcel 1 and 2. This is the same property, correct? But there's going to be a split in this?
Yeah.
He's seeking to go through a land division and create This parcel with 60 feet of road frontage and the remaining, those 10 acres, and then the house would maintain 280 feet of road frontage, the house, the accessory buildings, and 11 and a half acres.
So the house will be built within parcel 2?
There, potentially,
Potential.
when they desire to submit for a building permit, this is the first step. They would have to create the parcel, seek the variance because they don't meet the minimum requirements for agricultural.
Okay.
Yeah, the first version of this did not include that back 5 acres to the
Right.
south. It was kind of just a narrow, long, skinny lot. And now they've added the 5 acres. So I think that's the only material change.
Yeah, last time they didn't seek a variance on the acreage because they had the minimum of 5 acres. So that's why the acreage was not included in the request or the reapproval because they both times they met the acreage requirement.
Thank you.
I think we had a lot of questions about, long, skinny lot, trying to build a house on it and a barn or anything in the future. I think this makes more sense from opening that up back there to be more usable.
I think we discussed too that even though it's agricultural, there's really nothing being done. Is there anything that being done ag on the property or anything? There's no farming and you're landlocked in,
Yeah.
correct?
You mean in the backland? Yeah, I will be landlocked, yeah.
Yeah.
We do put a little bit in, but we don't put enough in to do it agricultural.
Right.
Put food plots and stuff in, but, yeah.
I got one question. The 6-to-1 ratio, has that already been approved by the township the last time it was approved, or? after
The application was
approve it,
never
then
submitted. Once the variance is granted, you have 6 months to start the process of the land division. You have to have the application, pay the fees to the assessing department. They have to create the parcels. You have to go through the survey, and then it goes to the township board for a determination. Anything over 6-to-1, 2 of the administrative department heads can sign off at up to 6-to-1. Anything exceeding that, it has to be approved by the township board. But the land division process has to be submitted. There are certain requirements, such as getting lender release letters showing the taxes have been paid. I'm not going to speak too much on the land division because I don't handle them, but there is the process that has to go through the land division, and the surveys have to be completed because it has to be a complete packet to the township board.
It looks like it's consistent with the rest of the parcels there, at least the parcels to the east. It almost looks like somebody split 20 acres there in the past.
Right next door to me is split, and then it's,
All the way back.
yep, and somebody else just put another one that looks like down the street, just sanctioned another one off. So, yeah, the one next to me is split right down the middle.
Mr. Gore, I think, did you have an additional question, Mr. Potter?
The only thing, moving forward, and we've always had issues come up before, and Phil's explained this, having a shared driveway that could create problems down the road if somebody else moves in and legal-wise and somebody suing somebody. I mean, it does happen.
I'm making him sign it. He can't sell it.
Okay. All right, just so you know.
If you do a shared driveway and you went to sell your parcel,
Right.
while you owned your parcel, you'd want to make sure that you grant an easement to your
Right.
son so he could continue to use that. Otherwise, he'd have to come off.
I got
the
you.
road. So,
Will do.
Yeah, there's just a lot of legalese
Yeah.
stuff like that with shared driveways.
Right. Well, hopefully we don't. Hopefully we put one over there for him, so we'll see how it goes.
There you go.
Yeah.
or you could just do a restriction on sale as he suggests.
I already did.
A deed restriction?
All right.
All right, if there's no additional questions, we'll go ahead and look for a motion to come forth.
I'll go ahead and make the motion again, since I did it last time. I'm not going to really read verbatim what we did last time, but pretty much will fall in line. So I'll go ahead and make a motion that we grant the request by Harold and Denise Williams from 2923 West Rock Road, Temperance, Michigan, lot number 5802-005-02400. Grant the variance parcel 1, 50-foot frontage variance, and parcel 2, a 270-foot frontage variance. The practical difficulties, location, the size of the existing building, Property split is so family can help with the property. As Mr. Williams stated last year, I believe he's getting older and it's a lot of property to take care of, and his family will be moving in to help him take care of the property.
I'll second that.
Support for Mr. Bassinger. Looking for any friendly amendments. I'll add one is that it is subject to the 6-to-1 depth ratio. That needs to be approved before proceeding with the board. If you both
I'll accept
accept.
And the property division will have to be approved.
I'm good with that also.
And then I think we did discuss the intents to have one driveway. That doesn't affect the way it's presented, but if there is an issue, you'd have to go to the road commission and work that out with them. So any other additional amendments, or are we ready to a vote? All right. Ms. Rector, if you could, please.
Mr. Gore?
Aye.
Mr. Bassinger? Mr. Mahoney?
Aye.
Mr. Potter?
Aye.
Mr. Dersch?
Aye.
Motion carried.
Thank you.
All right. Moving down to item C on our agenda tonight, we're looking for a motion to open the public appeal at 8766 Secor Road, requesting a plus or minus 2-foot height variance and a plus or minus 5-foot side yard setback variance to construct an 18 by 40 accessory building.
Motion to open the public hearing.
Thank you, Mr. Gore. Support from Mr. Potter. All in favor of opening the public hearing, aye.
Aye.
All right, thank you. Ms. Rector, if you could, please.
Yes, the applicant is William and Alice Kitson, 8766 Secor Road, parcel 5802-170-03200 on approximately 0.59 acres, Ag 2, secondary agricultural, rural residential, seeking a 2-foot height variance and a 5-foot side yard setback to construct an 18 by 40 accessory building. The subject property consists of 0.59 acres, and the applicant is requesting a 2-foot height variance and a 5-foot side yard setback variance to construct an 18 by 40 accessory building with an overall height of 15.5 in the Ag 2, secondary agricultural, rural residential zoning district. Per section 41903, accessory buildings in an Ag 2 district on a parcel with more than a half acre, the maximum height allowed for accessory buildings is 14 feet. Therefore, the variance for 2 feet in height is required. The proposed accessory building located provides a 5-foot setback from the north property line. Per section 41903, accessory buildings in an Ag 2 district, an accessory building with a maximum height of 16 feet is required to be located at a minimum of 10 feet from the property. Therefore, a 5-foot side yard setback variance is required. The applicant stated in the submitted letter the accessory building would allow for a storage of a fifth-wheel travel trailer, and the requested height is due to the size of the trailer. The applicant further stated the proposed location is due to the existing location of the septic field and the trees on the property, as well as the power source and existing gate are located on the north side of the home for access. At this time, there have been no letter calls or calls of objection, and the applicant provided 2 letters of no objection from the adjacent properties. Should the variance request be granted, the variance is required, a 2-foot height variance and a 5-foot side yard setback variance to construct an 18 by 40 accessory building.
All right, thank you, Ms. Rector. Is the applicant here? You'd like to come up and please state your name and address for the record and add anything to what was stated?
I'm sorry, did we open the public hearing?
Yes.
Okay.
Mr. Gore and support Mr. Potter.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Alice Kitson, 8766 Secor Road, Temperance, Michigan, 48144.
And I'm William Kitson, same address.
Okay. Is there anything you'd like to add to what Ms. Rector said?
Basically, just that the hardships are, again, because of just the location of the property, where the shed is in the back that you can see there, that will be coming down, because that's where the carport would set. The septic tank sits immediately to the south of that, and then we have the 2 large trees. So to keep it accessible to the water and electrical, we would like to keep it towards the front of the yard. To put it in the back of the yard, to try and go sideways, it becomes an issue with the length of the carport and the trailer to access getting it in and out. And there's also a bit of a low spot that at times will hold water in the back part of the yard.
Okay. Thank you. There's no one else here in the audience that would like to speak on this matter. I'll look for a motion to close the public hearing.
I move we close the public hearing.
Thank you, Mr. Mahoney. Looking for support? Thank you, Mr. Potter. All in favor of closing the public hearing, aye?
Aye.
All right, thank you. Go ahead and hang out. I'm sure we'll have a couple more questions for you here. Mr. Gore?
So looking at Secor Road here, the private drive that the gate sits off, who maintains or owns that private drive?
Our neighbor behind us owns it and maintains it. We do not have any access to it whatsoever. And I believe there's one home back there for sure, if not two back there.
Okay.
And
you said you're using that private drive to get into the...
No. We do not use the private drive whatsoever.
Through our side yards.
Through your side yard?
Yep, there's a fence that runs down that side yard, and there's a 10-foot gate between my home, the edge of the home, and that the gate, this fence that runs down the property line there.
Okay.
And so what we want to do is be able to back the camper back it straight into the structure for, snow load and protection and that kind of thing in the winter, and also get it out of my driveway.
And it's simply a carport. It's not a full structure. It's simply a covered carport type of a building that we would be putting in.
You're going to back that in that tight spot? Good luck to you.
I'm damn good.
Are you?
I do it all the time.
I'd take off half that house just in the first crack.
Damn good. Trust me. I've been driving truck and trailer for 30 years, so I'm on it.
For 30 years.
Nope. If I can't drive it there, I can back it there. Trust me. And right now, I pull that. There's a 35. If you took an aerial view right now, there's a 30-foot camper sitting in the middle of my driveway right now that I back. I pull in the driveway. I pull into Secor Road, and I back right up against that garage.
Outstanding.
10-foot gate. The trailer's 8 foot wide, so we got a foot on either side.
Mr. Chair, I did want to notify that our ordinance does not allow the trailer to be parked in the front yard of a home. So I think that is partially some of the reason they're looking to make it accessible. This is a private drive, and I did go back because I did have a inquiry on Linda Lane being in the same area. So I did pull out a map. This is their home highlighted in orange, and this right area here shows that private driveway that goes back to this home. And to the south here is actually Linda Lane. So just to give some clarification, because I was asked that question, so I wanted to give a visual just so you could see where Linda Lane, and I think the confusion is thinking this is more than the one home that shows on Linda Lane here. That's all I had.
So I guess to clarify, it's a private driveway, not a road, so the side yard setback is really supposed to be 5 feet, but because we're adding extra height, then it has to be 10 feet away from the property line. How high is the building going to be?
15 and a half.
Yeah, 15 and a half, because the camper is a fifth wheel, and it
Just short of 13 foot.
yeah, it's 13 foot
Clearance
with
for
the air conditioner and everything, and then it's going to have a cover front peak to it, so it has to slide under that, so you have to have 15-foot sidewalls and all the, yeah.
So once it goes over the 14 feet by ordinance, it has to be 10 feet from the property line,
Right.
and 5 feet would be, if it was 14 feet, it would only need 5-foot setback, and they would meet that.
Okay.
Having moved it up to meet the need for the travel trailer, they need the additional height, so then it would require 10 feet from a setback.
That's a good catch. I didn't catch that till just now. So I was going to ask what's driving the width, but 18 foot's kind of arbitrary. Is there a reason for that width?
Basically so that we have room so we can open the camper up under there. It does have opposing slides on both sides, and as function to be able to use it, like if somebody comes over to have extra space for them to stay, we could open it up as it sat there under their carport without having to move it.
Right.
So it was just kind of a useful point of measure as to have space to operate the camper while it's still sitting under there.
Okay, and that's like a standard size structure then you're ordering probably too?
Correct.
Okay. And I don't, the height, I'm sure we'll talk about it. We see this all the time with our ordinance, the way we calculate the building height, not allowing something like that to fit. So that's a pretty common item to see here.
I have a question. Is it against ordinance to have somebody living in the?
Well, they wouldn't be living, it would be like if they came to visit for a weekend to stay there for a day or two. There wouldn't be anybody living in the camper full time.
We would not permit the travel trailer to be utilized in someone's property.
I would just get along with your neighbors really good.
We get along really well with our neighbors on both sides.
And then I guess I'll add too. Sorry, Mr. Potters. It's a driveway here we're talking about too, private drive, not necessarily a home this is butting against.
Right.
So we're really not impacting the immediate neighbors, regardless of how close it is to that property line. Oh, Mr. Potter, sorry.
Maybe a better way to look at it, think about it, is that once it's in the, underneath the canopy, underneath the structure, you can open it up.
Correct.
Maintenance or cleaning.
Yeah,
Correct.
Not necessarily
Maintenance, loading, unloading.
living in. I noticed you had approvals from neighbors on either side, but nothing
We
from.
were unable to contact him.
Right.
We tried a couple different times and just whether schedules just didn't match up or what, but we were unable to get a hold of him.
But
Yeah, and they would have gotten a letter.
originally, I thought that was important because you were going to gain access to this new structure from that private drive, but you're not.
No.
No, we
Oh.
circle into across the front yard and then
Right.
back it around.
And for me to try to make a gate or anything to get into the very back of that property or whatever, that's only, that's barely an 8-foot driveway.
So making the corner
So making a
would be-
corner turning into the back of the property.
Even if he did give us access to the drive, trying to make that corner.
Right,
with
and
a-
I'd have to go into my neighbor to the north's property or his property. I mean, like, that was gonna open a whole nother can of worms if I tried to use the back section of the property. That's why we wanted to keep it up toward the house and be able to back in from the north side of the house.
If you went further east on the other side of the trees, further back in your property, there's some space opens up and you could move the shed over. Is there a reason why you didn't look at?
There's 2 huge trees, and by the time you come through the gate, get past the trees, you're never going to get straight to get into it, so I would have had to put it on a kind of an angle, and that would have, to me, would have looked horrible. I'd rather have it straight, you know.
I thought earlier that somebody said the land was lower back there.
There is a little bit of a low
Low
spot
spot.
towards the middle of the yard where it does occasionally, under heavy rain, hold a little bit of water, which, again, not ideal for parking the camper in.
Yeah, that's good enough reason to want to stay away from that. Okay, thank you.
All right, if we have no further questions for the applicant, I think we'll entertain a motion at this time to move forward. You look like you're ready.
Well, I've taken a lot of notes, and I've got some stuff written down. So, okay, I'll go ahead and make a motion that we grant the variances for William and Alice Pitson at 8766 Secor Road, Lambertville, Michigan 48144. Property number 5802-170-032-00. A 2-foot height variance and we grant the request for a 2-foot height variance and a 5-foot side yard setback variance to construct an 18 by 40 accessory building. Practical difficulties, which they came up with and they listed, thank you for that. First and foremost, the location of the septic field. I get you on that. I have a septic field in the middle of my backyard that negates half of my backyard.
You can walk on it, but that's about all you can do with it.
That's about it. The location of 2 large trees in the middle of the backyard, and the existence of the power source and the existing gate for an access purposes. And of course, there's no trailers allowed in the driveway. And the height of the 5th wheel makes it necessary to go up 2 feet, which requires a 10-foot setback. Had we not had that 2 feet, then we wouldn't even be having a discussion here today.
Okay, looking for support and some further discussion.
I'll support.
Mr. Mahoney, thank you. The only 2 things I would like to add real quick off the bat is the topography in the back does prohibit
Yes.
going further back to the lot, and that private drive also kind of prohibits you getting back there. And then in addition, this is contingent on demolition of the shed.
Oh, the shed's coming down. It's empty already.
It's just something we have to add. You
Yep.
know, if
Yeah.
Mr.
We
Mahoney,
fine with
have
that.
plans to put another shed up farther back, out of the way.
Right.
And the carport, like I said, will go there, basically where the shed is, that will become the pad to park the camper on. And it'll be slightly farther back, but
yeah, so not a problem. It's just something we have to add to make sure
exactly, it's,
order of operations is followed.
gotta make sure all the details are covered.
Is there any other amendments or discussion? Are we ready to move forward to a vote? All right, Ms. Rector, please.
Mr. Gore,
Aye.
Mr. Mahoney,
Aye.
Mr. Bassinger,
Aye.
Mr. Potter,
Aye.
Mr. Dersch.
Aye.
Motion carried.
All right, thank you. You can connect with Jody after this or tomorrow, and she'll be in touch with all the details.
Either come see me or talk to Dennis.
Okay.
Once they make a decision determined tonight.
Okay.
You can start tomorrow, whatever you want to come in and get it, but finish your building permit.
Okay, great. Thank you.
All right, we'll move down to item D here, looking for a motion to open the appeal for the property at 746 Washington Avenue, Temperance, Michigan, requesting a plus or minus 560 square foot area variance to construct a 24 by 40 accessory building.
I'll make a motion to open the hearing.
Motion for Mr. Bassinger, looking for support.
Support.
Mr. Potter, thank you. All in favor of opening the public hearing, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Ms. Rector, if you could, please.
Yes, the applicant is Tyler Bloch, 746 Washington Street, parcel number 5802-490-04500, on 0.23 of an acre, R3 TVOD, single-family residential within the Temperance Village Overlay District. The variance requested is a 560 square foot area variance to construct a 24 by 40 detached garage. The subject property consists of 0.23 acres, and the applicant is requesting a plus or minus 560 square foot area variance to construct a 24 by 40 detached garage. Per section 41903, accessory buildings in an R3 single-family residential zoning district, a parcel of less than 0.25 acres is permitted a maximum of 400 square feet in area for accessory buildings. Therefore, the applicant is requesting a 560 square foot area variance to construct the 24 by 40 detached garage. The applicant states in the submitted letter the request size is to be able to store 2 vehicles as well as a company van, as the van has been burglarized in the past. The applicant states due to the proximity of the home and the property line and the limited rear yard, an attached garage would not be feasible to construct. The applicant further stated the existing detached garage and shed are in dilapidated state and would be demolished. At this time, no calls or letters of objection have been received, and the applicant provided 1 letter of no objection from the adjacent property. Should the variance request be granted, the variances required are a 560 square foot area variance to construct the 24 by 40 accessory building, conditioned upon demolishing the existing garage and shed on the property.
All right, thank you, Ms. Rector. If the applicant, if you'd like to come up and state your name and address for the record and add anything to that.
Hello, Tyler Bloch, 746 Washington Avenue, Temperance, Michigan. One thing I do have to add is I got it after I needed to submit everything, but I brought my other neighbor with me, who I didn't get a letter from. Yeah, I feel like he kind of hit everything.
Okay. And then knowing everybody else is here, unless you'd like to come up and speak on the matter, if you'd like. If not, it's up to you. If you could, please state your name and address for the record.
Joe DeWarnick, 754 Washington Street, Temperance, Michigan, 48182. I live 2 doors down from Tyler and his wife Haley. They've lived there all their life, basically, and the whole family's been excellent. Once his dad passed away and his mom moved, Tyler bought the house, and they've been excellent neighbors. So I really see no objections to what he has planned. In fact, what he has planned, I think, is going to just help with the area as far as, like he said, his car was vandalized a few times, the work van. So I like to kind of see that a little bit more protected for him. I know with his job as HVAC, He's really good at what he does, and it's just really neat to see really unique young man in the community succeed. So I figure whatever he needs to do to succeed, I'm there to support him. So
Thank you.
Thank you, Joe.
Thank you. And then, if anyone else is here, if not, we'll look for a motion to close the public hearing.
Make a motion to close the public hearing.
Mr. Gore, looking for support. Mr. Bassinger, all in favor of closing the public hearing, aye.
Aye.
Thank you. I'm sure we'll have some additional questions for you here. I'll go ahead and open it up to Mr. Bassinger and Mr. Gore. You both got your finger on the button.
I got a question, 2 questions.
Sure.
I guess it looks like the new barn or garage would meet all the setbacks, is that right?
Yes, no setback variance.
What are roughly the sizes of the 2 buildings that are there?
The garage is 20 by 24, and the shed is 12 by 16.
So I think, I know where you're going with this, and there's 672 square feet currently already on the property, so it's already non-conforming, and this is going somewhere. So what is the size of your house? What's the first floor layout?
Square footage, the footprint of my house is 960.
960.
My house is 24 by 40. And as I understand it, the code previous to the new amendment was...
Yeah, so that's exactly where this is going. So prior to, someone can throw a date out here, mid-2000s, this changed, that it was based on the square footage of the first floor of the home, and this would have been okay, but when we changed to the lot size, now it's prior non-conforming for what's there, and this structure couldn't exist today without a variance.
When you look at prior non-conforming structures, which we have here, both of those would be eliminated. It's the goal and objective of the zoning ordinance to eliminate prior non-conforming structures. So this proposed building would be moved farther from the boundary line. You can see that boundary line. There's another accessory building, looks like with a nice cement approach on that home. Is that where Roger Fielding lives?
It is.
Okay. Roger's a retired Bedford Township employee, by the way. So you're taking a prior non-conforming structure situation and really improving it because of the orientation of this proposed building on that lot. Yes, you have the square footage issue because the ordinance changed. So that's what you have to deal with.
Then the neighbor's garage existed before the ordinance was changed. So I had the pleasure of meeting your neighbor today when I drove by.
Roger?
Yes.
He's a good guy. Well, that was my first question when I looked into this was, well, Roger, how did you get away with building that garage?
We get that a lot. Yeah. It's not often we actually have the full backstory of how we got to this point. This is one of those cases that we have a clear understanding of how we got here. So I'll say, personally, I understand the situation. I know where the ordinance changed and kind of created a new issue for the board that we're starting to see pop up. I think we had one last month that was very similar to this, right down the street from you. I think Mr. Mahoney was first.
And that's kind of like the objection I have to it, and I voted no on that one as well. It's almost like if everybody on the street asked for it, suddenly, should we be changing the ordinance, or should we just grant variances every time somebody asks for it?
Sure, and I understand that position.
You know, and I can appreciate you wanting bigger. I would want one, you know?
Yeah.
But I think the big solution is to move to a property where you can have a bigger garage.
That's fair.
It's a bad market. I'll
Yeah.
tell you that.
Yeah, it'd be, well, that's obviously, impractical for the time being. I mean, the two big things are, I have the, what'd you say, 670 some odd square foot right now. I'm accustomed to that storage, so for me to meet the existing code of going to a 400 square foot building would be, it really just wouldn't be possible, especially considering my wife and I have personal cars and then I have a company provided van I need to park inside.
And that can't be part of our decision in reality, but You know, I just think if it was a marginal addition to what's allowed, but you're over 2 times, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Mr. Passengers.
I guess one comment, and I'm all for anybody wanting to tear down a dilapidated building in this township and replace it with something better. That's the first thing. The second thing, I guess, is the question. Is there any flexibility or leniency because he's in the overlay district?
There is some flexibility on other things. However, accessory buildings that are detached move to the ordinance that are requirements of the accessory building table. And I do believe, I think we had spoken about him trying to attach it, but then it would lose access really to the rear of his property if he attached anywhere where the existing access proposed would be. But I think that was the concern, is that the overlay allows for a lot of flexibility on certain things, but when it comes to accessory buildings, even in the overlay, if he was to detach it and put it in the side yard, he'd have to get permission from the planning commission to be able to even put an accessory building in the side yard. So there are some restrictions that are more due to the fact that usually in the overlay the properties are much smaller, and then when you put in a detached accessory building in the side yard, it has to be looked at as an overview to make sure it's not negatively impacting, of course, the neighbors. So that's where that comes into play, but accessory buildings refer back to the ordinance.
The last comment I got is that's got to be the worst road in Bedford Township. When I drove down that road, I'm thinking, holy smokes, that's like a 2-track up north. It's terrible.
Yeah, was not
It's
pleasant.
gotten worse rather than better over the years.
And unfortunately, because of Food Town, right there with the truck traffic.
Oh, the trucks go down?
Trucks, go right down the road, and
It's right where their loading dock is. They back in there and just tear up.
And they're allowed to?
Yeah. Yeah, it's just what it is. Been dealing with it forever.
actually, when the trucks back into Food Town, between Tyler's house and the neighbor to his west, the trucks actually come up right up to their front yards. So parking his vehicle right in front of his house is almost right where the trucks pull into. So it's, a lot of times if you look out, I mean, it's surprising the vehicles don't get hit.
I can park there. Of course, it's my property. I can do what I want, but it gives the truckers a hard time, and they're not happy.
You're going to run a risk of them running into it.
Yeah.
I mean, you have any leniency on making this thing smaller?
So that's going to be my next question.
If that's what it means to get it built, then
We had this discussion last meeting about the same thing. Is it two times is a big ask?
yeah.
Understanding what was allowed and where we're at now. I don't know how we got here, but this is where we're at, unfortunately, is.
I guess my big thing is being that I have the van and I just have a lot of anxiety about getting broken into. It's happened in the past, so I really want to be able to park it inside. But I'd also like to be able to park my personal vehicles inside. So that's why I wanted to be able to park 2 cars deep.
You notice he's almost got the full rear yard setback from his house to the barn. I mean, he's actually moving the barn back, so he's got more space between the house and the garage.
To that point, everything in the back of the property is just unusable. It's under black walnut trees. It's not usable for anything back there.
Don't go grass well back there.
Yeah.
Guys, it looks like 32-ish feet from the house we're going to be.
Yeah. It's 32 and a half I measured out.
30 feet from the side yard setback.
And one of the reasons for me wanting to move it that far back was because with wanting to maintain the setback variance on the side yard, it's hard to see in that picture, but there's a covered porch off the, what would that be, the east side of the house. So if I really have it any closer, it'd be very difficult to maneuver a car to be able to park on the left side of the garage.
No, you can see it on this, and I'm not advocating, I'm just looking at things that are, I guess, apparent to me for you to think about. So to the south, you have a commercial district. To the immediate west, you have what appears to be another accessory building, but there's a large setback between this proposed building and that other accessory building. Looks like there might be two accessory buildings, one on the parcel to the west and then one on the parcel to the north of that. So that gives you, and then, a better visual. Then farther to the west, you have another commercial district, the Lion's Den, and of course at the intersection is the restaurant of Temperance Road and Lewis Avenue, and then another commercial building just to the north of the Lion's Den. And then to the east, you have a accessory building that where Mr. Fielding resides. So property, this is a unique property from that perspective, and you look at each application based upon the facts that are present, and the variables that are present with each application. So just some food for thought. I express no opinion one way or the other, but if I were in your seat, what would be objectionable to me were if it was right up against property lines and we had setback issues in addition to the square footage issue, but we don't in this case. So just something to think about.
Just a question on the map. What's the green represent? Green lines?
I'm sorry, what was the question?
What are the green lines?
Floodplain.
The floodplain, okay.
Oh, it's a floodplain.
So some of these homes exist in a floodplain?
Yep.
Yeah, there's a creek that runs through the area, what it would be to the southeast.
It runs right parallel to McLanathan.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So McLanathan is on an angle. It goes out to Temperance Road, and then it actually extends back behind the food town.
Okay. So I just saw that on there, didn't know what additional that was adding.
So it's a unique piece of property in the Temperance Overlay District. And it's in the Temperance Overlay District because of all the commercial uses that exist, hopefully in harmony with the residential uses that are there.
Well, if there's no further questions for the applicant, I think we'll look to move to a motion and we can discuss further.
If I may,
I think you're off, Mr. Potter.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the plus or minus 560-foot area variance to construct a 24 by 40 accessory building on property number 5802 490 04500, otherwise known as 746 Washington Street, Temperance, Michigan. Variance is conditioned upon demolishing the existing garage and shed that exists on the property right now. And I apologize, I'm going to need one of the other board members to help me out with a practical difficulty.
We can get support. We can go ahead and add to this.
I'll support. And one thing that I looked at is we had limited rear yard and the size of the lot. The fact that this detached garage fits. All the setbacks are there, just the square footage isn't there.
Just go ahead and accept that, Mr. Potter.
Yes,
I'd
yes,
like
I
to
do. Thank you.
add, I think this is conditioned upon a lot of the accessory buildings we look at is, no business can be conducted per the applicable zoning ordinances for your property. It's not meant to be a place to run a home business or anything like that, or, should it be constructed.
No, I wouldn't have any intention to.
Okay. Is there anything additional we would like to add from an amendment standpoint?
You have 2 prior legal non-conforming structures. You should make it a condition that both be removed.
That was already.
Yeah, Mr. Potter.
Was it?
Yeah,
Okay.
demolition of the garage and shed was required, which I don't think you can do much with them in your way.
And I also had for practical difficulty, this was a prior non-conforming lot.
Right. No additional discussion. We'll go ahead and take it to a vote, Ms. Rector.
Mr. Potter?
Aye.
Mr. Gore?
Aye.
Mr. Bassinger?
Aye.
Mr. Mahoney?
No.
Mr. Dersch?
No.
Motion carried.
All right. Thank you. Connect with Ms. Rector here tomorrow or after the meeting, and she can get you all set up.
Great, thank you very
Have
much.
a good night.
Thanks.
Come in tomorrow if you want.
Okay, will do. Thank you.
Welcome.
All right. Looking for public comment time. If there's anyone who'd like to come up and state their name and address for the record. All right. Seeing none, we'll move down to board and staff comments on my right.
Actually, I'd like to say,
If you could, just name and address for the record. Sorry.
Robert Stevenek,
You got to come up to the podium. It's a formality thing we have to do. I'm sorry.
Robert Stevenek, 1081 Cumberland. I've worked at the Napa store for 37 years, and finally, I'm able to move into Bedford Township, so.
That's where I recognize.
I knew you looked familiar. I could not figure out why I knew you.
Worked there entirety of my adult life, since I was 18. So here I am,
Why we recognize you.
Your Napa Bob.
Napa Bob. I'm here to stay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Board and staff comments, please, starting on my right with Ms. Rector.
Yes, due to the election in August, the deadline for the next BZA meeting will not be till July 29th at noon, which is a Monday, and then the meeting won't be till August 19th, and which is also a Monday. But the dates are changed due to the election and the requirements of the election laws and not being able to use the boardroom. So keep that in mind on the next couple meetings, because I believe the Labor Day meeting is also changed due to that time frame.
It'll move to the 9th.
Pardon me?
Does it move to the 9th in September?
Meeting is going to be, the deadline, August 19th.
This is a September meeting. Does that meeting move to the 9th because of Labor Day?
I don't have it. I was super happy
Sorry, I
I
like to
remembered
plan
to
ahead.
put this one in front of me.
Make sure we'll check our meetings.
Yes, it's on the calendar, but I
We'll
try to
check our
give a reminder,
schedule.
especially because this one is such, usually the deadline is like next week from here for the next meeting. But yes, this one will be August 19th. And as soon as we have the deadline date, I try to always remember to send a message out to let you know whether we are or not having one. That is all I have. Have a safe and happy 4th of July and enjoy.
Looking at the schedule,
Nothing from
sorry.
legal. You haven't been sued, so that's good. In a long time.
The September meeting is actually going to be on a Tuesday.
I see that,
Yep.
September 10th. That's
Tuesday,
really
September
good.
10th, so notate that.
Everybody mark that one down because we're going to miss that or show up on Monday.
I have nothing.
Nothing additional on my end.
Nothing on my end. Thank you I apologize for having to leave for a few moments, but I'm back.
Everybody have a happy 4th of July. Stay safe.
Happy 4th to everyone. If anybody is soccer crazed like my family is, the Copa tonight, USA, Uruguay, it's probably on right now, so go Team USA. All right.
All right. We'll go ahead and look for a motion to adjourn.
Motion.
All right. I'll give that as motion and support. All in favor of adjourning, aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. Thank you. Have a good night.